Welcome to a new fragrance review. Today is the last day where we finally finish to smell all those little bottles and analyze the 40 most used ingredient in perfumery. So if it's the first time you're watching one of these videos, I actually did 5 of them, which is the 5th one is the one you're watching right now. And basically what it is that there's a kit that is sold by a company called the Perfumer's Apprentice. And that little kit has 40 most used ingredient. They are all diluted. It comes with little pipette and little stuff like that, paper strip to try it, a little book that explains it all. I'm reading a bit inside of the book saying stuff that they say, and I'm not reading straight from it because there's like copyright and stuff. I'm not afraid to show it like this because it's kind of an ad for them. So hopefully they won't be mad at me. And I'm just giving you my review on those ingredients. So let's go with those 8 ingredients that I'm gonna analyze today. Another little disclaimer, especially reading the first one that has a word that is French. I'm gonna read it weird because English is my second language, French is my first. So the first ingredient we're gonna try is methyl pamplemousse in French. An example of fragrance that has the ingredient in it are Good Life by Davidoff. It says that it's also used in Pleasure for Man by Estee Lauder, Aqua, Allegoria, Pamplelune by Guerlain, Lauder Kenzo by Kenzo, and they call it also an elegant and modern grapefruit, and it's usually used in cologne fragrance, either eau de cologne or those fragrance that has the cologne in the name is one of the places that will be easier to see this fragrance put into the book. If you know a little bit of French, you know that pamplemousse actually means grapefruit. And as you might assume that it actually smells like grapefruit. I would say that it's a lot like grapefruit peel. There's a bit of a synthetic vibe to it, but it's really like low. It's not like strongly synthetic. There's a bit of a synthetic vibe, just that's it. I would assume that if you put a lot of it and a lot of other stuff that have a synthetic vibe, will give that famous synthetic vibe that there is in a lot of fragrance. But if you put other stuff, maybe even like natural stuff, it wouldn't appear. The note description is fresh citrus grapefruit peel. That's about it. Next ingredient is musk ketone. And musk ketone was used a lot in fragrance. In the older days, it was actually used to replace musk that was actually like part of an animal, the musk deer, that has to be killed. It was not necessarily for this, but maybe also for financial reason that it was used and was not in the past, so I cannot tell you. But still, nitro musk was used a lot in the older days, and now for health reason, and maybe it says here also for environmental reason. And so, even though I would assume that IFRA is probably regulating it mostly or only because of the health reason for the people that wear it, or there's probably other kind of musk ketone that exists, but these ones they're not used anymore. So it said that it's used in L'Air du Temps by Nina Ricci. It was used also in Chanel number 5 or Chanel numéro 5, and it says that 10% of the fragrance is musk ketone, or at least at the time was musk ketone. I think that's the only example they're giving. There's a smell that reminds me a little bit of vanilla. I would say a lot of people will probably just say it's vanilla. I would say it's really a sweet version of musk. Now it's not used anymore, but I would see it in fragrance that has vanilla, tonka bean, cormorant in it. Maybe in clubbing fragrance nowadays. In the book it says that it's sweet, powdery, and light animalic. And I don't think it's animalic from what people imagine with when it's animalic, but still it smells like musk, so it is an animalic note, but it smells good. And for the powdery, I would say it doesn't smell super powdery on paper, but I would assume on skin when it evaporates differently and maybe with other component, it would smell more powdery. Nowadays, musk are not musky-tone. I would say one of the most popular ingredient will be galaxolide. There's a lot of different one that will be used, but galaxolide is used a lot, and even in all perfumery. I was talking about it in another video because galaxolide is actually one of those molecules, and I would say that galaxolide is most likely the #1 used fragrance ingredient in the world, even though some would say that it's bergamot. And the reason is it's actually galaxolide it's because galaxolide is used in so many things that is not fine fragrance. You will have it in soap, in laundry detergent, you'll have in the little fleecy bounds kind of thing that you put in the dryer. It will be there. It will be in a lot of things because it smells good. It's super cheap. Next ingredient is isobutylquinoline, and on the bottle it says pyralone. I think the original quinoline was an ingredient that was bad for skin or something like that, and it's modified version. That's pyralone. This fragrance also is probably the most powerful fragrance, not the #1, but at least in the top 5 of those 40 in terms of projection, smell. And it says that even a drop of aldehyde C12 will make a difference in fragrance, but even a drop of this in the fragrance will be amazing, like how you smell it. So example that they say that has that ingredient is Bandit by Robert Piguet, and in the fragrance Ship by Coty, famous fragrance that gave its name to a whole family of fragrance. And it says that they were both used in small amount, and indeed they're used in small amount. I think if you put like 1% of it in the fragrance, you're gonna definitely smell it a lot more than anything else, and maybe 2-3% you're gonna smell this and nothing else. It's really extremely strong. Never calculated the ratio, but like something like that. So it smells like leather, and if you smell the old school leather note in fragrance, this is what they used. They might have done different accord. You might find another fragrance that has no quinoline and just a bunch of other stuff, but mostly this is what they will use. It feels like a raw leather, kind of brown, light brown leather. In the note description it says leather, castoreum, and earthy. I would say yes for the earthy. I would not say that it's specifically earthy, but it has earthy aspect. For castoreum, I wouldn't say that it's there. Maybe my nose is not developed enough. Maybe it's because it's so strong, the leather aspect to it, and I need to let it dry down. It's more as it dries down, but for me it doesn't smell like castoreum. It has also some green aspect, which makes it even better as a leather note in those fragrances of the 80s, which were pretty much all green fragrance. It's a nice ingredient. If you like leather, I love leather, so this is why I think it's nice. Next ingredient is Rose Absolute. So I'm gonna smell it just for you, but I think you already know what it smells. This one also is pretty strong and powerful, and it's also an expensive ingredient. It will be with what I'm having here, it's probably the second most expensive ingredient. I'm not quite sure how much all of them worth, but I know jasmine is the most expensive, and Rose Absolute is also really expensive. This one specifically is Bulgarian Rose, at least according to the book, and it says that it was used in Joy by Patou, and it's used in the finest perfume nowadays. So most likely, if there's a niche fragrance that has rose, it's gonna be this that creates the note. It smells rose, as you would assume. It smells a bit like a lucum that tastes rose. Wouldn't call it sweet, but there is some sweetness. Wouldn't call it spicy, but it kind of sting like spice. Not sting isn't the right word, but it's sting like spice, but without being spice. I would like to see that note within a strong spicy fragrance with like cinnamon, cloves, black pepper, nutmeg, stuff like that. Probably already exists, but it would be a nice note with this. In the book it says the note description is floral, waxy, sweet, and spicy. And I get somewhat the waxy. I never get waxy aspects so much, but I understand it in why they would say this. I would say it's borderline powdery also. It might be also the spiciness that makes me believe that. Next ingredient is sandalwood. It says in the book that it's really expensive. So yeah, sandalwood also would be one of the expensive ingredient alongside rose and jasmine. I don't know which one between rose and jasmine would be the most expensive. But again, would be one of those two. It says that it's used in half of all women's perfume, either pure sandalwood or some accord or aroma chemical, and in 1/3 of men's perfume. It says also that it's used at 50% in the fragrance Bois d'Azil by Chanel. So sandalwood is one of those scents that you're most likely gonna know also, because there's so many things that smell like sandalwood, candlewood spray, bunch of stuff. By the way, if you don't know what sandalwood smells like and you want to smell something that smells sandalwood, you won't be like pure sandalwood, though you could go to a place where they sell essential oil and go smell it. But the really, really, really easy way, you go to a store like Walmart, drugstore, whatever, and you go get Timber, whatever thing, by Old Spice that is timber, like the soap, deodorant, all of this. And this is the main smell of timber. It's sandalwood. I'd say it smells sweet, soft. The smell is similar to vanilla. It doesn't smell vanilla at all, but it's similar. Same way that bergamot and lemon would be similar, even though they're not the same, just, yeah, similar. It's hard to describe the note of sandalwood. It's a woody note. It smells sweet. It smells nice. I cannot compare it to anything because it smells like sandalwood, which is a thing I would compare other stuff to. So I would compare it to vanilla, as I said, even though it doesn't smell like vanilla. That's pretty much all I can say about this. Next ingredient is tonalide, and it says that it's also called pixolide, and it's a polycyclic musk. And the biggest example they're giving with this fragrance is Fahrenheit by Dior. And at Fahrenheit, it's used at 11%. It's also used at 11% in the perfume called Parfum Sacré by Guerlain. Also in the book, it says that it's a good note also to smell, to see the evolution of the musk family of molecules. So today the molecule that I smelled that smelled less is this one, yet, and I would say the two other that are left, I think they would smell more. It smells like musk. If you don't know what musk smells like, it's a bit hard to describe. It smells powdery. There's, I would say, a link between the smell of this and baby powder. Though it doesn't smell like baby powder, have a link. Like the powdery part of the scent, but not completely, not the full scent of it, kind of a part of the scent. Yeah, I would probably use this if I would create an accord to smell like baby powder. That's about it, what I can say about this. The note description is strong, sweet, fruity, musk, and powdery. Now, next ingredient is Vertofix. They call it also methyl cedryl ketone. So Vertofix is an ingredient that smells like vetiver. Aroma chemical, so it's not natural. And it says that it's cedarwood oil derivative. It says that it's using 20% in cacharel pour homme and also 20% in bold tree detergent. I don't know, it's probably something more common in the US. And 10% in the soap, the dial soap. It doesn't smell purely like vetiver, so we're gonna smell it and see. The smell is pretty soft. We call it the second less smelling molecule that I smelled today. It smells woody. Picking up some vetiver, but I would say that it smells more like cedar. I'm not 100% sure which fragrance, but there's a fragrance I smelled not so long ago. I think it might be La Nuit de l'Homme, or maybe La Nuit de l'Homme Bleu Électrique. But in the dry down, there's that little smell. I would say it's probably also in Men in Black by Bulgarian. Yeah, I would say it's probably part of the leather accord that's inside of Bulgarian Men in Black. It smells a bit like leather, smell a bit like cedar, a bit like vetiver. I'm looking at the note description and I see amber written, and I would say yes, it smells like amber, but it's not the first thing I would think of with this. Probably with other amber ingredient, it will enhance it. I'm thinking more woody and leathery. It's a great ingredient. It smells pretty much what I said. And the note description is woody, vetiver, amber, leather, musky, cedar. Next ingredient is also the last, and it's vetiver essential oil. It says that it was used in the fragrance called Bouquet du Roi. That was the perfume that was used in the French court when there was the king. There was a king and a queen at the head of France. So that there's also a lot of fragrance that has perfume that has vetiver as the name. A good example is Guerlain, which is the first that they give. There's Carven also, Creed. Pretty much everything that will have vetiver in the name will probably have that ingredient in it, unless it's super cheap. Because it's not super expensive. It's not super cheap neither, but it's not super expensive, that ingredient. So it's easy to imagine that middle range fragrance will have it in the composition, especially if they are a brand that makes quality over things that are just cheap. It says that modern example of fragrance having vetiver inside of it is Hugo Dark Blue by Hugo Boss, Christian Lacroix, and Azura by Azaro. Now for the smell, I'm going to tell you something that I like about vetiver as an ingredient to use in perfumery is the concentration matter. Every ingredient, I would say, concentration matter. The more you put, the more it will smell, obviously. But also, the more you put an ingredient, the more it will affect the other ingredient. Some ingredient will have effect that it make it fresher, more sweet, more powdery, have the other ingredient last a bit longer, have the ingredient smell stronger, stuff like that. They all interact with each other in the different molecules. But this one, depending on the concentration you put it, it will smell really different. It can smell from being grassy, herbal, to be smoky. It really will depend. Also, the different vetiver, the origin of it will depend, but concentration that you put will change a lot of its smell. It's something that I think is really interesting with this ingredient, which might explain why a lot of companies decided to make a fragrance with this ingredient. When I smell it, the first thing that came to my mind is hazelnut. A bit smoky, a bit green. The concentration here is at 1.3%, and it's really smoky. When you put more, it's more grassy, rooty, herbal, and it's hard to describe vetiver. It's other than what I just said, pretty much how it occurs. Vetiver is a really unique note. It's a really great note, really nice note. It's elegant, but it's also divisive. There is no description for the note, so nothing else to say with this. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed this series where I was analyzing the 40 most used ingredients in perfumery. If it's a case, of like and share. If you want other kind of video like this where I talk about especially the molecules and stuff like that, write it in the comment and I might be doing 1 or 2 other videos. My goal is more to talk about the perfume themselves and analyze them, but if you're interested to have some of those videos where I talk more in depth about molecules and stuff like this, write in the comment, and that might be a subject for a future video. So, thanks for watching. See you soon.